Good morning. It's the 19th of September 2013. This is a first report from the Camino. It's a bit of a quiet morning. There's not much going on. I can give you some idea of the view here. Had a lot of rain yesterday, and this morning's one of those kind of low mists, which I think with a bit of luck will kind of linger in the valley until, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock. And the sun's just starting to come out and burn it off a little. Everything's pretty wet. Had a fair amount of rain yesterday, which was kind of on and off. So umbrella out for 10 minutes, umbrella in, then out, then in all the time. And this is your typical French country road. A lot of people have said to me, is it a lot of road walking? Which I mentioned in the last blog post. And yeah, it is a lot of road walking, especially the last 2 days. I'd probably say 80% of it is on the road. But this is your typical French road, as you can tell from the noise, or lack of it. There's just no traffic about. And apart from how hard it is on the feet, they're really, really quiet country roads, and it's actually a pleasure to walk on. The one thing you can say about tarmac is you don't have to concentrate on where you're putting your feet, so you can just enjoy the scenery, look around you a little bit. I'm about mile 400 here, which is probably about 40% of the whole thing. I've got about another 80 miles to a little French village called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is where the majority of pilgrims start their walk from. It's just about a day's walk or half a day's walk shy of the French-Spanish border. Having said there's no traffic, here comes a car, so bear with me a second. Being chased by a dog. A mad dog. So yeah, if you've seen films like The Way, then you'll know that Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port is this lovely little French village with a little river running through it and old houses and just a typical charming little French town. And that's where most of the pilgrims start. It's on the route I'm doing. I started at Le Puy-en-Velay, which is near Saint-Étienne in France. And give or take, it's about 500 miles to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and then it's about another 500 miles through the Spanish section. So that's about 3 days away from me at the moment. And the Pyrenees, I wish I could show you the Pyrenees actually. They're over to my left, the south. And I've sort of caught glimpses of them for the last week or so. You can just see it on the horizon. And the other question I get asked is, what is the Pyrenees like? Is it, have you got to take crampons up there? Have you got to walk across glaciers? And, is it snowed in? When's the best time of year to do it? Is it a long stretch? And I think people might have the wrong impression of it. I mean, the Pyrenees is an amazing range of mountains, but you kind of converge on them. You walk from east to west on the Camino, and the Pyrenees pretty much do the same thing. So they're always to your south, but sort of running in a line, and you converge on them at Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, where you then cross the tail end of them. The border with Spain is kind of on the top, I say the summit. It's not really a summit. It's not really mountainous there. But it's just a day's walk, and you just clip the tail end of them. It goes up to about 1,300 metres, which is about 4,500 feet. And yeah, it's a steep climb up-ish. Most of it's on the road. And then you drop down the other side into this amazing old Spanish monastery at a place called Roncesvalles, which is the first of the infamous Spanish refuges. Which I wrote a little about in my last book. I didn't have an awful lot of tolerance for them last time. they seem to have this this ideal or this notion that pilgrims should suffer during this walk, and you know, have these crazy closing times, lights out at 9 o'clock, you have to be out of the refuge at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. But having said that, they do provide all you need, which is essentially a roof over your head, a bed to sleep in, usually a shower, and if you're lucky you'll get somewhere to cook a meal, or maybe there's a bar nearby or a restaurant where you can grab something to eat. So essentially I'm just coming to the end of the French section. It's Thursday today, so I should be there Sunday evening. We've got a bit of a better view now. I don't know if you can see, the camera's a little bit bright up top, but just about there's a church. I don't expect you can really see it at all actually, but they say in the olden days, medieval times, and further back than that, when pilgrims used to walk this route, that you know, they didn't have maps. They walked with very little at all, and the one method they used for direction was the sun, which as you start the day is kind of just behind you to the left, because it rises behind you and then works its way round to the south or your left, and then towards the end of the day it sort of starts to move around in front of you. But essentially you know your orientation from where the sun is, so they knew roughly that they needed to walk west. And their next clue, after they figured out where the sun was to look in a westerly direction and look for the next church, because this route is so old that it passes through all these little hamlets, villages, and indeed towns and cities as well, and all of them which will have a church. So they would look in a westerly direction to the next church, and that's where they'd head to. It's a shame you can't see it, but there you go. So that's a simple guide to directions. It's actually one, I mean, I don't personally use, the sun is always a good guide, but obviously I have a guidebook, and you know, the route is extremely well marked, so navigation isn't really much of a problem at all. Everything is a bit damp still. You can see from my my shoes, everything's just a bit mucky. We have had some rain after the first 2 weeks, which was glorious sunshine and exceptionally hot, and it is apparently warming up again in another few days' time. So that's pretty much it. I've got some reviews coming on the blog. I've got the Z-Pax Hexamid Solo tent, the Cuban fibre one, which I used for part of my AT hike last year. That's coming. You've already had the review on the Arc Blast, which you can see I'm carrying. My boots here, which are an Italian brand called Saliwa, which are an interesting model. They've got an ingenious little footbed system which accommodates wider feet at the front, i.e. mine. Multimat Superlight mattress, which I have with me, and Mountain Laurels Designs Spirit quilt. Finally, I found something I can sleep in. I've never got along well with sleeping bags, and the quilt's a bit of a revelation. So that'll all be coming. There's a little marker post coming up. Actually, I can just show you. Talking about navigation and finding your way. There's a nice little blaze. Familiar red and white stripe, which basically just means carry straight on. So I'll leave you with that until the next update.